Okay. So I'm just going to show you a Rashi and Tosa, then read to you outside some of the other Rishonim. The My Chanukah story is 3 lines for the end of the short lines. My Chanukah.
The Tanan Rabbanan?
Yeah, as you know the story. This is a story that's found in Megillat Tanid. My Chanukah, what's Chanukah? And that doesn't mean what's Chanukah. Everybody knows what Chanukah is. Chanukah is when you get Chanukah gelt. No, my Chanukah is, of course, what's the reason, which is the miracle. It's what the Marsha and the other Rishonim explain. What was the miracle of Chanukah that we're going to actually be commemorating? Rashi says, Aleiza Nes Kavua. What did they sell? Which Nes was it set for? So Rashi says, and the other Rishonim say it as well. The Ran says, actually it means what was the reason, the name for Chanukah, which of course is not really the right thing here, because Chanukah would be Chanukah Samizbeach, not really about the miracle. So Tan Rabbana Chafei Kisli Yom and Chanukah tonight, 8 days of Chanukah, you can't give Tespedim, can't fast on them. Nichnasi Abanim Lahechal Timu Kol Hashmanim, they made all the Shemen Tamei. Okay, so what did they make Shemen? They made the Shemen Tamei, and Gavar Machut Beit Chashmonai V'Nischom, the Chashmonai came in and defeated them. Badkuv Lamatzel Pachachad Shel Shemen Shem Munach B'chot Moshe Kohen Gadol. They only found 1 cruse of oil that had the stamp, the imprimatur, the seal of the Kohen Gadol, which meant it had not been opened. And it was a miracle and burned for 8 days. So, what exactly was the tumah that there was? If you look in Tosas, it's a very short Tosas at the end of the page. So Tosas makes a suggestion, a very interesting suggestion. Tosas suggests it's possible that they have already made a decree upon Nachrim that they would convey a sense of tumah like a zav, like a person who has an emission. Okay, a zav is a sense of tumah. It would be like a rabbinic extension of what that decree was.
Every Nachri is like a zav.
Every Nachri is like a zav.
He never goes to the mikvah.
Because they wanted to reduce contact between Jews and non-Jews. That's really why.
Yeah, but
The Zav is a Zav. A Zav is a person who has a seminal emission. A Zav is a person who has a gonorrheal emission. Garn is a person who is Tamei.
Yeah.
It's a serious
but if
concept.
they don't go to the mikvah, they're always Tamei.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. I'm not talking about Tamei Meis. I'm talking about Tumah Zav.
Yeah.
A person does not necessarily have to be a Zav.
Because today we
Especially a male. Especially a male.
Okay. They're not careful. They're touching each other. You know what I mean? They're not careful with anything.
Okay, all right. So what the Tosos means here, and this is a very big chiddush, most people just gloss over it when they talk about the sense of tumah, that it's really a midrabanan, and that non-Jews were going to be treated as tamei, that they make people that they touch, and they make kalim that they touch tamei through physical contact, or by lifting them up, or by moving them. And this is what Tosa says, and actually some of the other Rishonim say this as well. So this would mean that if even they just move the cruse of oil, if a person is a tamei of zav, even if they move it, hesed, even if they sit on it, even if they move it, even if it's closed and sealed, it would make it tamei. It's a very severe form of tumah. So Tosfos points out, so then you must say, if this is the type of tumah it is, so tzarech lomar shemunach b'chotamo b'karka shlo yisitu akli. It must be that they found it with not just the seal on the cruse, but it was actually stuck in the ground, and it's clear that they didn't move it, because if a zav moves something, even if it's closed, it's going to make it tamei. It goes right through the kli. So that's the first shot of Tosos.
Covered by karka, let's say, it was on the.
It was half submerged, submerged in the ground itself. Okay. So, and the normal answer that most people say is that they were tamei meis. Archie said that. You said that, right?
Yeah, I said that.
Why would they be tamei meis?
It doesn't go away.
Why do we think that the Greeks were tamei meis?
No, but
because the Greeks.
First in life, you go to a funeral, you touch it.
You go to the base of Mikdash, you touch the stuff.
In general life, you go to a funeral, there's a mace, you get tumah, but the tumah doesn't go away unless you use.
So aren't you saying there's a presumption? There's a presumption that they became tamei at one point or another, right?
At some point in your life.
But actually, the truth is, it's much more than that, and this is what some of the Rishonim say, that they were soldiers. What were they doing? They were killing Jews.
Okay.
They're not just fighting; they were killing Jews. So they came into contact with dead Jews, and they probably killed Jews on the way into the base of Mikdash, must be people trying to defend the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore, so once again, if a person comes into contact with a body, a corpse, so they're tamei, their clothes become tamei, and if they or their clothing comes into contact with the kli now becomes tamei. If there's food inside the kli, so then the food becomes tamei because the food is in contact with the kli was in contact with the tamei mace, and the tamei mace had kind of in contact with the mace itself. So the garments that were worn by the Greek soldiers, in all likelihood, had become tamei because they had killed Jews before they came into the Beis Mikdash on their way in.
Goyim don't count?
Well, if they touch a Jew, I guess they do count.
No, for sure Jew counts, but...
I don't think Goyim count, no.
Okay.
Okay, not the same sense of tumah.
Okay.
Now there's a variation.
No, I thought they would touch... They go to their own funeral from their own people.
It's very...
But the Rabbi is saying it's just...
It looks like they have...
Besides what Tosfos said, which for sure...
For sure.
Right, this is...
I didn't think of that.
You
I just
didn't go
thought...
by...
Correct. Okay. The Rogatchover Gaon, Rav Yosef Rosen, who lived beginning of the 20th century, was a very sharp individual, very difficult person, by the way, to get along with. That's why not a lot is known about him. People don't often quote him. He was a very, very brusque type of individual, but a very, 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 very clever mind. It's called the Rogatchover Gaon, and he has a variation on this. And he suggests this on his Hilchos Chanukah, and commenting on the Rambam. He says that there's a Gemara Masechet Chulin Kuf Chaf Gimel that the soldiers, when they would go into battle, would take skins of some of the deceased enemies. This was like a good luck charm. I guess kind of like the Indians took scalps, like they take shrunken heads. This was a way that this protected them from people. Some civilizations, they eat the heart of their enemy. They're cannibalistic. Sure. You gain all that strength. So they took a shtickle of the enemy. They took some skins with them, and chances are this could have been the same thing. We don't know this is necessarily associated with the Greek soldiers, maybe more associated with more primitive kinds of peoples, but this is a suggestion, which is really a variation on the sense of Tumas Hameis. The Magen Avram, or Rav Avram Gambiner, who writes the Magen Avram, has a commentary on Midrashim called Zeis Ranan. He's less well known for that. He's more well known for being the Magen Avram who comments on the Shulchan Aruch, which is quoted up and down in terms of how to follow the Shulchan Aruch, and he suggests, and this is the idea that I think Mr. Richter said, is that it was not really tamei, but it really was a sense of avodah zarah. So it doesn't mean they really became tamei, but just the whole sense of being involved with idol worship. There's a sense of echiness, there's a sense of disgust, a sense of disdain, and therefore the Chashmonaim does not want to use it because the concern it was used for avodah zarah. That's probably what most people say. And therefore, the fact that it was sealed by the Kohen Gadol, right, the fact that it's sealed by the Kohen Gadol showed that it was not used for idol worship. Right? According to Tosfos, you have to prove that it was not moved at all. Right? So the seal itself is not as good. And Tosfos says it was actually built in there. Rashi, by the way, says, if you look in Rashi, it's Rashi B'chotamo. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 lines in the bottom of Rashi, Chotamo. Rashi says, B'hatzneya. Rashi adds one word before he talks about being in the Kohen Gadol seal. B'hatzneya. 13 lines in the bottom of the Rashi lines. Chafal from a bet. Okay, so Rashi, B'hatzneya is B'hatzneya, to be hidden. So Rashi says that it's really the sealed flask was found in a hidden place. V'chatum b'tabato, v'kish lo nagabo. They saw that they didn't touch. In other words, it's not the fact that it was sealed, the fact that it was sealed and hidden and
some kind of hidden place.
Some kind of hidden place, which nobody really knows exactly what it is. It's not clear what exactly. Tosfos says it was in such a way that they, it looked like no one touched it, no one moved it at all. So some Meiri suggest that it was found actually under the Mizbeach. Inside the Mizbeach there was like an area where the Niskei Yayin and the water came down and the wine came down. So you could there must have been like a trapdoor for the plumbing. Sure. So there was hidden back in there where it was clear that the Yevanim did not know where the secret passages were, where the secret storage cases were. So, and possibly they didn't even know that this flask was there, let alone not even move it itself. Really, what the Meiri says. And as we saw, the Tosfos suggested there was a way you could move it. The Ran suggests that the flask was made of pottery, was made of clay cheres. And first of all, he says that they didn't use it. The vaday lo matzu klav v'lo ra'u. It was not moved at all. Otherwise, if they had found it, the Ran suggests on here that they would have broken it. The Yevanim would have cracked it open. Maybe inside would have been some gold or silver. They were plundering the temple. They wouldn't leave any loose things around.
Oh.
Who knows? Maybe they're hiding things, like people have these false books that they put jewels in or something. So maybe the fact that they left it alone was an indication it hadn't even been touched, it hadn't been found, and possibly hadn't been moved as well. The Ran also suggests in the Chidushei Ran that this was a flask that was made of kli cheres. Kli cheres does not become tamei when you touch its exterior. It's a different type of a kli cheres on the outside.
What other kind of flask would it have been?
Could have been a metal flask or I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, I would have thought. I thought it was kli cheres.
But the question is whether you touch the outside, whether the tumah goes through. So kli cheres apparently does not.
I didn't think there was any other kind.
So the food inside would be
So the food inside that's closed, they didn't touch the inside, the food would be okay.
So sorry. Before you said that's why I was I guess like in an ohel, right? If somebody dies, but that didn't
That's
touch.
not. This
That's
is not.
not touching.
That's not
all
touching. That's
That's not
ohel.
touching.
That's ohel.
So yeah. So if you have a thing of food.
If you're under the same roof, you're gonna have.
That's why I backtracked.
So you can have tumas
say
amaze
the
by touching someone or being under the same ohel as a mace.
Right, but let's talk about the touching back again. So before, that was the part that if something, I have a kli and I have food in it.
Right.
And somebody is tamei mace and he touches that, somebody else belongs to somebody else, right? A bunch of food in
Not
there.
from right. So if it's
touches it, all the
closed,
food is tamei?
right? If it's open and he touches and the food, the tumah can go in. It will make it tummy. If it's closed and the tumah can't go in, then touching the outside. Well, if it's a kli cheres, the tumah will not go in.
And if it's made out of skin or glass or whatever?
It would. Or metal.
Interesting. I always look at
Different.
porous the other way.
Right,
Actually,
okay.
I always look at metal is less porous than
Okay.
unless it's glazed.
Anyways, so that's why they found it. That's why it was hidden, and that's why they found it. And the question, of course, becomes: there's a rule. One question I could the Rishonim ask is: there's a rule called Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor, that you cannot do the avodah in the base mikdash if you're tamei. However, if everybody is tamei, then the laws of Tumah become suspended for bringing communal sacrifices. So one of the suggestions has been about reinstituting the Korban Pesach, right? You may have heard some of that discussion years ago. It surfaces every once in a while. We're Tameh, we can't get up there. Well, Tumah, if everybody's Tameh, then Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor for certain Korbanos. Question whether it includes the Korban Pesach or not, probably does. So the question is, and it's very likely, it appears that the Chashmonaim come to Beis HaMikdash and start up the Avodah. We know the story about finding the cruse of oil and waiting and lighting the light, and it burns for 8 days. But we have no reason to suspect, and we probably believe it to be true, that they were bringing other korbanos. According to the Aruch HaShulchan suggests that, Pnei Yehoshua, a lot of the Achronim suggest that once they got in there, they started things as much as they could. So if they could do korbanos when they're tamei, because Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor, why couldn't they light the menorah when they were tamei as well? Why isn't that as well? Why wouldn't that we say Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor? What was the big deal that we had to have this miracle until we got oil that was really tahar?
They could have used.
Good question.
They could have been tamei. They could have used oil that was tamei. They could have used any of the oil that was lying around. Why? We make this big deal. They found one cruse of oil that hadn't been touched by the.
But they were all tamei.
They're tamei. The oil is tamei. Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, how do you open a non-tumah oil if you're tumah?
Good question.
How do you, if you're tumah, you can't
I'm
open?
with you, aren't you? I'm with you.
Excellent. Excellent question. I don't know the answer for that. It's a good question. So first of all, it's possible that Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor may only apply to Tumas HaMeis. It may not apply to Tumas Zav, which is what Tosfos is suggesting. Right? That may not be removed by Tumah Hutra B'Tzibor. The answer that most of the Rishonim seem to give, and this is found in actually one of the Achronim, Gil Yonei Hashatz by Mari Engel, and others suggest that it could have been done while the oil was tamei, with tamei oil. It could have been done, didn't have to have the special oil that was tar that had a miracle. However, when you want to start something, you really want to start something right. Right, and as a result, even though you could have gotten away with it, the Chashmonaim wanted to start something with something pure. With something pure, you could actually show HaKadosh Baruch Hu's grace by allowing us to make a miracle for us that we didn't have to rely upon tamei oil. And by the way, this would not work with the answer that it's avodah zarah, because avodah zarah is never going to be hutra by avodah zarah. It's only about tumah. But there's actually a very similar idea that comes up in the Torah. Most people lied over it. In Parsha Shmini, Dasakinim Valatosis points this out. In Parsha Shmini, you have the sons of Aaron walk in, they bring Eish Zarah. And what happens to Nadav and Avihu? The fire comes down and whatever is lighting and they die. And what does Moshe say? So Moshe says that Elazar and Itamar were not allowed to become Tamei upon the death of their brother. And that's because, now really a person, why shouldn't they become Tamei? So why should they not become Tamei? So the answer is because it looks like that even though a Kohen Gadol is the one who can't become Tamei at all, a regular Kohen can be, but the Dasakim suggests that they couldn't become Tamei because they just were beginning their initiation. They're starting as Kohanim. So therefore, when you start something from the first time in the beginning, you've got to really, really be sure that you do it right. So the same thing when they started lighting the side of the menorah, they had to make sure it was done properly correct. So on the highest level. So even if they could have gotten away with tamei oil and so forth, it was surely not an auspicious way to get things going. So that's really a story. But I thought you may be interested just to see we had done this Gemara, and here we are now at Chanukah. What exactly is the tumah it's all about? Is it tumah? Is it avodah zarah? What exactly is the constitution? Okay, Ad Kan Chanukah. Now we are on the Mishnah. We're actually right before the Mishnah. We have 2 lines to do before the Mishnah. It's a very short piece. Chaf Dal Amud Bet, 24b. Okay. And just for the sake of completeness, we're going to do this. It's really going to take me, I hope, no more than 3 minutes to do these 2 lines. The Mishnah had said, the first Mishnah of the second parak. If you go back to the Mishnah for a moment, on page, I'm flipping your pages, aren't I? So Chaf Amud Bet, 20b is the beginning of the parak. So we've been dealing with all different kinds of oils before we look at the next Mishnah. 20b, correct. And then the second half of the Mishnah said, I'll pick it up on the Mishnah 1, 2, 4 line. I'm sorry, before Nacham Amadi. Okay? So right before that said, V'lo b'shtevis, lo b'shayva, lo b'shemenkik, v'lo b'shemet sreifa, v'lo b'alya, v'lo b'chelav. You can't use the tail fat, and you can't use the fat of the animal. Nacham Amadi omer madlikim b'chelav mevushal. Nacham Amadi says you can use chelav, fats that have been rendered, that have been cooked. The Chachamim say echad mevushal v'echad she'en mevushal ein madlikim bo. Chachamim say no, whether it was cooked or whether it wasn't cooked, you can't cook it. You can't use it for oils for the Shabbos candles. So there are 3 opinions here. The second opinion, Nachman Amad's opinion, is pretty clear. You can't use chelev. What's the difference between the first opinion that says v'lo b'shem and sreifa, v'lo b'alya, v'lo b'chelev, and the last words of the Mishnah v'chachamim omrim echad mevushal v'echad she'en mevushal ein madlikim bo? So it looks like the third opinion, the Chachamim Omrim, is the same one as the one that was right before Nachum Amadai. It looks like it's the same thing. So that's the Gemara's question. Very quick question. Chachamim, so v'lo b'alya, this is Chaf Hadal Amud Bet, and it's 2 lines before the Mishnah, v'lo b'alya, v'lo b'chelev. It's actually dealing with chelev, not the alya part. Chachamim hainu Tanakama. The Chachamim are the Tanakama. The 3 opinions, opinion 1 and opinion 3 is the same. You can't use chelev. No types of chelev can be used. So what's the difference between them? So we have a very strange answer. Gemara says, Zika Benad Rav Buna on Marav. So it refers to a discussion that came earlier, I just mentioned to you briefly. What happens if I have shemen and I mix together something else that's a mixture? Right. In other words, if I use a shemen I can't use and I mix a kosher shemen, most of it's kosher shemen, some of it's not kosher shemen.
I thought you meant that. Today with the Chanukah candles, they have solvent.
So we decide, we did talk about
that's
it.
fine. So according to Rav Bruna Marav, that's actually okay. So Rav Bruna Marav said we learned it earlier on I'll come to it in a moment, Daf Chaf Aleph, that would be okay according to Rav Bruna Marav if you'd mix together some prohibited oil with some he actually is not talking about chaylev, he's talking about some of the oils that won't allow the wick to pull up. So what if I mixed it together with oil that will cause it to pull up? So he says, because I've mixed it together, I got some good oil, it's going to pull up the oil through the wick.
Even though he's bringing it up.
Even though it's mixed oil. So therefore, the suggestion here in the Gemara says is, the difference between the first opinion and the third opinion is if I have chaylev together with good oil.
Right.
Okay, according to one opinion, chaylev with good oil, with valid oil is going to be good. According to the other opinion, chaylev with good oil is not going to be good. Who is who?
It depends on the ratio. I don't mean to put the engineering in here. No, I don't mean it. Depends on the
I
ratio.
know.
If you have a
But
tea-
the machine,
no, if you have 2 teaspoons in a gallon, it doesn't make a
Yeah,
difference.
that's what I'm
But if
saying.
you have the other way around,
Well-
it's all.
That's what I'm
It depends what
saying.
you got the ratio you have.
Okay, but according to the other opinion of HaBanim Rabbi, it would be the only proportion that would be good is 0%.
Okay, I'm just
Okay.
saying. 'Cause-
Right, but the point of it, look, it's very interesting to see what the Gemara says. Ika benad Rabbuno Rav, whether you can have a mixture. V'lo Masaimi, you know what lo Masaimi means?
No.
We don't know the answer. We don't know the
Yeah.
conclusion. In other words,
Ain't see 'em.
the
Don't see 'em.
organizer, the editor of this sugya says, we know there's a difference, but we don't know who says which opinion. Does the Tanakama say when you can't use oil means even oil if it's got some good stuff? You can't use chaylev even if it's got some good stuff? Or is it the Tanakama who says that opinion? And V'lo Masaime, and this note finally says at the end that you don't even ask because we don't know the difference and you're going to figure it out. So that's just in terms of by way of completion of the previous piece of Gemara. Okay, are we ready for this next Mishnah? Okay, good. This is going to be a little bit of kachim, and I have to tell you the beginning of the Gemara is going to be a little bit difficult only because it's giving drushes. The drushes are really not such good drushes.
This happens sometimes.
No, I mean, there are ways to kind of poke holes in them, which we will just poke a little hole in them, but these are the reasons for what the Mishnah is going to tell us. What does the Mishnah say? So we're leaving Chanukah altogether, we're going to a new topic. Eimad likim b'shem and sreifa b'yom tov. So Shem and Sreifa is Truma that became Tameh, and you cannot, which is we mentioned this in the Gemara a while before, and we said this was going to come up in the Mishnah. This is for Ein Madlikim B'Shem and Sreifa B'Yom Tov. This is about Yom Tov. There's suddenly a piece here about Yom Tov. Everything else in this paragraph is about Shabbos.
Right.
This is about Yom Tov. This probably should have been the end of the previous Mishnah if you were breaking up the Mishnah, because the rest of the Mishnah goes back to talk about Shabbos. So, Ein Madlikim B'Shem and Sreifa B'Yom Tov, we have Truma that became Tameh. You can burn it. In fact, you should burn it because you want to make sure people don't come to eat it. Right? Truma Tmeya is also to eat it, but the point of it being you can burn it and you can get benefit from that burning. It's not something that's asa barna, it's mut barna. However, on Yom Tov night, even though it looks like I could get benefit, so what's my benefit? I'm cooking my food. There's nothing wrong. I'm heating the house. I'm lighting the candle. I'm getting light. I'm getting heat. I'm getting whatever I'm using it for. But I can't. This is Shemen Sreifa. Shemen Sreifa is just Shemen of Truma Tmeya. So I can't use it. I can't burn it. I should say I can't burn it on Yom Tov night. And the beginning first piece of the Gemara, which we first got finished the Mishnah, is going to try to give us gives us 3 drushes and 1 logical reason why that's going to be true.
But Likim, though, is talking about candles, the Shabbat Yom Tov candles, or talking about burning it altogether?
Well, if I can, by extension, I can't use it at all. But in the case we're talking about here in this parak, we're dealing with using it for light. Right? Okay. I guess maybe if you were cooking on it, maybe you might be concerned that some of it would splash into the food or something.
Could be, yeah, right.
Right, so that doesn't sound like a good idea. Maybe heating, I don't know how much they heated in those days. And probably wouldn't want to heat really with oil, you'd want to heat with probably logs. Yeah. Okay, so that's about the first piece about Shemen Sreifa. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, new topic really. This is about also going back to what you can't light with on Shabbos. Ein madlikim bi itron mipnei kvod Shabbos. Itron is some kind of white derivative coming from pitch, coming from tar.
Something white.
Something clear. Something clear. I don't know what they translate as itron. Naphtha is neft.
No, itron one is something else.
Clear oily residue.
Clear oily residue. If you if you ever read some of the Bible scholars who, of course, deny any miracle that ever takes place in Tanakh, one of the often quoted stories is about the story of Eliyahu at Har Carmel. Remember the story of Eliyahu at Carmel? With Nevi'im, they says, you guys do your sacrifice first, and they say, Habal Anenu, nothing happens. Finally, Eliyahu pours water in it. So the skeptics, of course, of anything in the Bible suggest that maybe Eliyahu used itron. Trick, yes.
He kept saying, pour water.
And no sooner does he pour water, then suddenly the whole thing becomes volatile and consumes it all.
I never thought of that.
Good trick. But of course, that's not what the Tanakh says. So you don't believe that. No, I don't believe that.
I never thought of it till now.
No, I do believe that it wouldn't really reflect with sunlight the same way that water would reflect sunlight.
Smell
I
it.
think it did
It
say
would
that.
probably
Fire
smell.
from heaven. It was like a
Right, it's
maybe
crazy.
a little lightning in that.
But I'm just saying, if you wanted to know what it is, I don't know what each one exactly is, but it's some kind of clear derivative of pitch and tar, and therefore, and the problem is not that it burns actually very nicely. However, it smells terribly. If you ever smell them when they're tarring a roof or tarring the road, you know exactly what's going on.
In Latin, if I remember well, in Latin naphtha is what we call oil.
Yeah, for lighting, for lights, for cooking.
Right.
Naphthalene.
No, naphtha in Latin
Neft.
is
It's
the
kerosene.
petroleum, the oil that you have that you put in your cars. That's it. What you get from the pits in Saudi Arabia and all that.
I don't know. In Israel,
They call that-
Usually-
In Latin is petroleum, and another word is naphtha.
Naphtha is usually like oil they use for camping.
so there looks like there are two
different.
different.
Right.
Right.
Camping stove. It's a clear.
Is it kerosene? Not kerosene. Not kerosene.
So maybe
I don't
it's,
know what it
I'm
is.
So
not
I
sure
know in
exactly the
Israel, the
difference.
word for neft means actually kerosene. The old kerosene heaters that you.
That's
I
like
don't know what it
a
is.
European Polish word, Yiddish
Right.
More
word.
like naphtha, I think
So
you're right.
the bottom line is there are two kinds of derivatives that came off of pitch, off of tar. One was itron, which was very clear, and the next one is going to be naft or nefta, which is going to also have a smell. The smell is not as bad as itron. Itron's smell was probably much worse, appears to be much worse, but both of them were really not good smelling kinds of things. I'm not sure if the second one was actually a clear oil or had some kind of coloration to it.
Wikipedia.
But itron is apparently the very clear color.
Is that what it says? It's clear.
That's what Mr. Smart Scroll says is clear. Who might argue in Smart Scroll?
Because I'm not
Okay,
gonna
someone's
argue,
going to look up
It's like
itron.
I'm going to look it up.
Then it's
No,
clear.
because it's odd because usually tar is black. How does something clear? I'm not saying anything.
I don't know.
It is-
We'll have to call the
Art
chemists, not
scrollers,
the
I can't
engineers.
argue.
Sure you can. Ein madlikin b'itron. So anyways, look back. Rabbi Shmuel, ein madlikin b'itron b'nei kavod Shabbos. You can't light with itron because kavod Shabbos. What's kavod Shabbos? It smells bad. It's not bekavadik for Shabbos when you're going to have a poor smelling lamp, right? V'chachamim matirim, chachamim allowed it. In other words, they felt that either you could get away with it, or the fact the mitzvah really was to light.
But it says b'chol hashmanim, it says, no?
Right, v'chachamim matirim b'chol hashmonim. They're going to allow this, including all the oils, and as well as all the oils. They give chacham matirim b'chol hashmonim, including these. B'shemen shum shemin, this is sesame oil. B'shemen agozim, this is going to be nut oil of some sort. Shemen snonos, radish oil. I did know you can get oil from radishes. B'shemen dogim, fish oil. That I understand. Shemen pakuos, Rashi says is some kind of pakuos is dalat midbari. It's some kind of gourd, some kind of like a cucumber kind of thing. And be'itron uveneft. And you can also use itron, which we talked about according to Rabbi Shmuel. You can. And you can also use neft, which is also this derivative from the pitch. And apparently that comes up in a number of places.
When it says kol hashmanim, the chachamim, that's, and we learned lo madlikim and all those other things at the beginning, no?
So it looks like that's correct that they're allowing this, that they're...
Well, they say not for this, it sounds like they say all the shmanim,
Correct.
but
Right.
clearly, in the first mission, that they said no, right? Not all
Right,
the
correct. It
shmanim.
looks like they're arguing that. That's
Yeah.
correct, yes. Right, okay. Rabbi Tarfon Omer, ein madlikin el b'shemen zayit b'lvad. Rabbi Tarfon has the most radical opinion. He says the only shemen you can use is shemen zayit, which is we do not paskin like, okay? We like to use shemen zayit for Chanukah, but you don't even have to use that for Chanukah. You have to use all oils for Chanukah. So,
We use neft for Shabbos. We use candles, paraffin.
is paraffin. Paraffin is not neft. Paraffin is a vegetable derivative, I believe.
Paraffin is oil. It's
What's it?
gasoline, like crude oil.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's
thank
crude
you.
oil, but it's clean. It's clear.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
I think
Thank
so.
you. It's not. I know it's not. It's not lard. Okay.
No,
So
no,
it's
no.
not meat.
It's not lard. It's
No,
it's-
because one of the issues comes up about using these meat
on the
products
table.
is on the table, the food and so
no, but
forth.
it's like
Distilled stuff? Homemade distilled?
yeah, they take off certain gasoline oils. Like the candles, it's one of the other things
I
that
don't
comes
know.
off.
I don't know, but once upon a time they used whale oils. Oh, this is before my time and before your time.
These are all crude oils.
Okay, right. Whale oil industry. The whale oil industry went down. There you go. Moby Dick. My timer. So let's go to our Gemara now. So the Gemara is really just not that much I can add really to the drushes, but there are going to be 3 drushes to try to understand the first line of the Mishnah, which is Eimad Lik and B'Shem and Srei for B'Yom Tov. This is the entire discussion as it relates to that per se. So my timer. So the Gemara says Lefi she'ein sarfin kachim b'yantav, because we have a rule that you cannot burn kachim on yantif, which is going to be based upon certain psukim, and might even have a logical reason that we'll throw in at the end, but it's really based upon what we would say is Xeris HaKasav, and we'll have to give psukim for that you would consider that you cannot burn Shemen Sreifa, which is any kind of Truma that's Tameh, or any type of Kachim you cannot burn on Yantif itself. It's not about Shabbos, it's about Yantif. Now we had a discussion on when this Gemara came up the first time, what about a regular Shabbos? We said Shabbos you couldn't do it all to Yantif. People get confused, but as a rule of Ein Sarf and Kachim, it's Ein Sarf and Kachim B'Yom Tov. So why can't you do this? And it looks like we should, because it says B'Eish Tisrofu, you should burn it. So Minan Emili. So Amar Chizkiah, so Chizkiah says V'chein Tana Devei Chizkiah, or Tana Devei Chizkiah Amar Krop. This is in regards to the Korban Pesach. So the Korban Pesach had to be eaten that night. You cannot leave anything over till the morning. Didn't leave the end of the pasuk. That which is left over till the morning, you should burn it in the morning. So the pasuk appears to be somewhat repetitive. This is in the midst of giving to Bnei Yisrael about Korban Pesach in the 12th chapter of Shmos. What are you going to do? Kama, what's ever left over, burn. Why not just tell me the second half, or why not just tell me the first half? Don't leave anything till the morning. What do you do with it? You're obviously going to burn and destroy it. Give me the second half. Why do I need both halves of it? So this drush is as follows. Once again, this is standard Talmudic kinds of drush that you're reading into what the Torah is saying, but it makes sense. This one actually makes sense. Shein Talmud Loma Araboker. Don't I know from the first half of the pasuk I can't use it till the morning? I can only eat it till the morning. Ma Talmud Loma Vanosam Imeno Ad Boker Boish Tisrofa. What is the second time around? It says Ad Boker the second time. Ba Kasav Litain Lo Boker Sheni Lisrei Faso. This is telling me that when it says Vanosam Imeno Ad Boker Boish Tisrofa, it doesn't mean burn it that night. Don't burn it that night, because what's that night? Yantif. And you can't burn Kachim on Yantif night. I have leftover from Pesach. I didn't finish it in time. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to burn it. So when should I burn it? Burn it in the morning. But I know that I would burn it in the morning if I can't eat it anymore. So when it says Vanosami Menu Ad Boker Boish Tisrofu, which boker is the second boker? You already said boker once. Second time it says boker means the second boker. Ergo, if I have Pesach, Korban Pesach left over from my Seder on the first night of Pesach, I don't burn it on Yantif. When do I burn it? The next morning, which is what is no longer Yantif, is Chol Hamoed. So actually, really, logic would say I should burn it next on Matzah Yantif.
At night.
So Tosfos actually discusses there's reasons why you shouldn't suddenly burn it the second night. But basically, you see from this that you cannot burn it. You learn from this that you cannot burn the leftover Korban Pesach on Yantiv itself, which therefore the Pesach is learned as a paradigm or an example for all other Karbanos, that I can't burn any other types of Kachim, I can't burn any type of Kachim on Yantiv that's not being used for the Karban. Now, when I say there's a difficulty with this drasha, the difficulty is you could say there's Xeris HaKos about Korban Pesach.
You could.
Right, you could say this is a unique law about Korban Pesach. It's Pesach Mitzrayim, especially there. In fact, it's like leftover in the morning. Normally, a Korban is left over from the day and you burn it at night. This is leftover in the morning. What would you do with it? You're eating it at night. It's a different kind of Korban. But the Gemara seems to feel that if it works, if it's going to be this law for Korban Pesach, it's going to be the same law for all different types of Korbanos. Okay, and there's a long Tosfos that tries to explain to make it work, and I'm not sure how to really make it work with the way Tosfos makes it work.
But this is different because the Pesach is you can't break the bone.
So?
Again, So, but with any of the others, you would probably.
Right, so I'm saying there are a lot of laws that are different about Korban Pesach, correct?
Right.
In other words, you could argue with a great deal of compunction that the Korban Pesach is a very different type of Korban. It's very different in a whole lot of ways.
It's roasted, everything's different.
Everything's different, right? So, but the fact that once again the Torah goes out of its way to say that you can't do Korban Pesach, that should be no different than any other Korbanos as well. It happens to be at that time that they gave the Bnei Israel, this was the only Korban. That's the only response really. This was the only Korban that exists. It's not that when this is a Shmos Perek Yud Bet. If you would have been found in Sefer Bamidbar where all the Korbanos are found and say there's a law for Korban Pesach, okay, I'd understand it's different. But this is the only Korban. This what it's saying is that any Korban that's being brought on Yontif, you cannot burn it on Yontif itself. It's got to be the day after Yontif. Okay. It's not a great drasha, okay, but it might be better than the next one. Okay, now so that's the first one. Next, so who said that? Chizkiyo or Tana de Chizkiyo? Abai Amar. No, there's another different kind of pasuk he's going to learn it with. It says Ola Shabbos b'Shabbato Alalas HaTamid v'Niska. This is even more complex because this is dealing with Shabbos. This is dealing with the Korban of Shabbos. Ola Shabbat b'Shabbato. So the drasha is Ola Shabbat b'Shabbato. The Ola that's brought on Shabbos is brought on Shabbos. V'lo Ola Schol b'Shabbos. But you can't bring an Ola that was brought on the weekday. The Tamid that was brought before Shabbos, and v'lo Ola Schol b'Yontav. And I can't even bring an Ola that was brought on a weekday on Shabbos. So in other words, let's kind of just put it together. The Korban Tamid on Shabbos I can burn on Shabbos. But I can't bring it, and I could bring really a Korban Yontif. I can bring the Korban Yont of Tomid and I burn it on the Mizbeach. But I can't take the leftovers of the Olas Tomid that was brought on the weekday and bring it on Shabbos. So with the leftover Avarim that are left over from the daily sacrifices on Friday,
Right.
I cannot burn them on Shabbos night. Lo olas chol b'yomtiv, and I can't extend it as well. I can't even burn the leftover parts of the daily sacrifice on Yontif, which are burned on Yontif night. So what is left over and remaining, normally I put on the altar at night. That's one of the sources why we have Marav. Right? Shachris is Tamid Shel Shachar. Mincha is Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim. Marav is Keneged, the Avarim, P'darim, the different pieces that were put on the altar at night. So says the Gemara, the drush here that Abai is quoting is if I have leftover pieces, and they did have leftover pieces from the daily sacrifice on Friday, I can't burn them on Shabbos night. I can't put them on the altar Shabbos, and if I have leftover pieces in there of Yontif, I can't burn them on Yontif. That's the drash. Why? I don't know. It's a drash. What's the difficulty with the drash? Anyone want to raise the difficulty with the drash? I don't have a.
It only says Shabbos.
It only says Shabbos, right? Where did Yontif come about? Shabbos. So it talks about Shabbos. So how can you extend this and far into Yontif itself? So that's a good question. That's a very good question. But I guess the fact that Shabbos b'Shabbato and that Shabbos and Shabbato, if we just say Shabbos b'Shabbos, it's only Shabbos. Shabbato, sometimes Shabbaton refers to Yom Tovim as well. So they extend it. It's not a great drush.
What? I mean, it's a little off point perhaps. What? Assuming there were leftovers, I'm not sure why there were always leftovers. You would think they could burn Ola, and Ola was burnt entirely in principle. But let's say they were leftover Friday afternoon.
They would leave it till Saturday night.
What did they do with it?
Because
they thought they had to bring Shabbos morning the Tamid and the Musaf.
Yeah.
So what did they do with these extra pieces?
They left it, put it aside. Yeah, put it aside. It's one daily sacrifice.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to picture.
They burnt it next night. They burnt it after tomorrow.
I'm just trying to picture the leftovers from Friday. They're taking them off the altar, putting them somewhere.
You have to try to imagine a very large packing house.
Yeah, no, I am, but I say my image of the Ola was always that really was burnt, mamash, burnt. You didn't have the leftovers, but assuming they did. I'm trying to picture, as I say, them taking it off Friday afternoon. And normally you say they left it there till the next morning. Was that it?
Yeah.
Together with the tummy?
Where did they put it? I don't know. They may
even
not.
the normal. Let's forget Shabbos.
I'm not sure. They may have put it. They may have left it on the mizbeach. I don't know.
Days. I don't know. Yeah, no.
Okay. So once again, that's the second drasha. Once again, I can't really say that I'm happy with it. I don't have a really better way to make it work. It's surely only a Shabbos kind of drasha, but the Gemara seems, as you see from the drash, from what Abaye quotes, and it doesn't appear to be Abaye making this up. He's quoting some kind of tradition. It looks like it'd be very hard to say he's making this up. That this is extending this that you couldn't. So it means you can't even put a kosher carbon piece of a kosher carbon from a weekday on Yontif night, and surely you couldn't put kachim that became puzzle, right, on the mizbeach at night. This is what you do with kachim that became puzzle. So that's what it means, ein sarf and kachim, and you therefore can't burn. You can't burn shem and sreifa, truma tmeya. You can't burn as well as compared to kachim. This is also an extension. It's not the same as kachim, and that's why you cannot use it for light for the candles on Yontif night. Okay. That's choice 2. Choice 3. Okay, Rav Amar Kra, Hu levado yeoseh lachem. So this is a pasuk that talks about doing malacha. Achasher yechel nefesh, hu levado yeoseh lachem. Once again, it's in Shmos Perek Yud Bet, where the laws of Karban Pesach and Pesach are talked about, and says the pasuk there says you can prepare for food. Who says achasher yechel nefesh, that which you will need for ochel nefesh. By the way, we learned that anything that we need for other purposes as well. Mitoch shehutra l'tzorach, hutra shelo l'tzorach, because I can use it for making food, I can use it for anything else. But it goes back to says achasher yechel nefesh, hu levado yeoseh lachem. So the extra levado, what do you mean levado? She could have said hu yeoseh lachem, achasher yechel nefesh, hu yeoseh lachem. What's hu levado? So levado, you understand right away, is coming to be memayit something that I don't have to do. Okay, it's not part of the actual mitzvah. So we learn a very important halacha from this, and this is a little bit convoluted, so just stay with me on this. That we learned from this that bris milah, anything that is needed to be done on Shabbos I can do, including, for example, a bris milah bismana on the 8th day. Right, for a normal vaginal delivery, I do a bris milah on the 8th day on Shabbos. I don't do a bris that's been deferred already. I can keep deferring it. But if it's the 8th day, you do it even the 8th day. However, I cannot transgress Shabbos to do to move and to create or to bring the machshirim, the things that are secondary to the bris that needed for it. So, for example, if I didn't have an eruv, I couldn't schlep the utensils. I couldn't sharpen the knife. That can all be done before. That's called machshirei mitzvah, machshirei bris milah. So we learned from this. We learned this as well as other things. So says Rava, what does the pasuk say? Hu levado yeoseh lachem, hu velo machshirim levado. I'm sorry. Hu velo machshirim. It's and not the secondary pieces that are needed. Levado, velo mila shelo bizmano, and I can't even do mila that's not on its proper time. If it's the proper time, I do it. But if I deferred it, so we're going to learn out from levado to exclude even a bris mila that's no longer on the 8th day. The 8th day is passed, and the baby was sick, or there couldn't be an opportunity, whatever it was. Now it's past the time. I don't do it. So this is an exclusion. Only something that I have to do on Yontif that I couldn't do before, that I can't do any other time, that I need, only that I can do on Yontif. Now, this seems to have nothing to do at all with kachim and burning kachim and so forth. Okay, so here's the drash. Okay, and I got to go back and look at Rashi. Look complicated Rashi. Actually, maybe I'll read the Rashi. The Rashi Levado, it's a very long Rashi. But if I read it, I'll remember how it goes. Levado, lemute mila shlo bizmano. The word Levado excludes mila, which is not on its 8th day. The lodache Shabbos v'yantiv, which does not defer, does not push off Shabbos or Yantiv. Dilo mieta kra. And in fact, the Gemara says, the Asya B'Kal V'chomer, the last 2 words on the bottom of the page, the first 2 words on the last line, is that I could have thought it comes from Kal V'chomer. What's the Kal V'chomer? If I didn't have a pasuk levado to exclude mila shelo bizmano, I would have learned B'Kal V'chomer. I would have learned the Kal V'chomer. I didn't tell you the Kal V'chomer yet. The Tidchim, which is going to be knocked off. The Tidchim Perek probably is it's going to be learned and it's going to be discussed further in Kuf Lamed Beis. The Chitanya Hasam that it learns over there in Perek Rabbi Eliezer in the end of Masechet Shabbos, the following. Tzorat, if a Kohen has Tzorat, he may not do the Avodah. Does that sound logical to you?
Sounds logical to me.
Why?
Tzaras is like
it's not a mum actually. Tzarat is going to go away.
It's tummy.
So the answer is, well, let's say just logically, Tzarat therefore is going to override the Avodah. Okay, we all understand that you can't go to the base of Mikdash, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Even the Kohen Gadol has an obligation to do the avodah. Kohen Gadol has an obligation to do the avodah
Like in
in the base of Mikdash.
in Malachim, one of the kings got Saras, and they put him, and they separated him. He couldn't
Yeah.
separated the king from everybody
Yeah.
else,
Correct. Okay.
and so
He's a king. He's not a Kohen.
I know, but he's the king, right? So I said,
Right.
that's no, it's like
Okay.
Yeah, no. So we're saying.
So here's the Kal Vachomer. It's a double Kal Vachomer. If Tzaras is docha the avoda. I cut you off, Archie. Is that
no, that's all.
okay?
And that's just say he's the king, and therefore the king. That's all I meant. It's like
Kohen Kalvachomer, Archie.
Yeah.
If the king can't do it, neither
The king
can the
can't go.
Kohen. I mean,
You have to go. It's called
Right.
the base. I forget. I can look it up. Separation or something. I forget the Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and yeah, I'm just saying. So okay.
Okay, so here let's kind of read this like this. If tzarat, now you have to understand you can have a localized tzarat. You can cut it off. Could you cut it off?
No.
You can't cut it off. Let's see when you can.
But Tzara is a kind of a tuma. I mean, when's the Kohen has to come and declare it?
Yeah, but if you don't have a tzarat anymore, you're not tummy.
But you have to go through something before they
Mikveh,
have to go
whatever.
to the mikveh.
Correct. Okay. Well, let's see this here. But you can't, because you can't really remove it because you have the
No.
Kohen has to declare it, so you can't
Oh,
cut
yeah,
it off.
right,
So
yeah.
it's a double Kal Vachomer. It's a little complicated. Ma tzarat shedocha d'avoda. Tzarat docha of the Kohen is docha the avoda. Can't work the avoda. And avoda is docha Shabbos. And the avoda pushes off Shabbos, defers Shabbos, because we know things are done on the avoda that are breaking Shabbos.
Sure.
So tzaras is docha avoda. Avoda is docha Shabbos. So mila shelo bizmana. So I could have made the following Kal Vachomer. Mila shelo bizmana docha ota. Then mila shelo bizmana should be docha Shabbos. How? The chitanya hasa mila docha satzaras ben bizmana ben shelo bizmana. Because we have a rule that if on your aver where you have to do the bris milah there's tzaras, you actually can cut the tzaras off. Let's say there's tzaras on the foreskin.
Just on the
Foreskin.
In other words, not even just on the foreskin, on the foreskin.
Yeah.
So the mitzvah is to do the bris milah. Even though that you are eradicating the tzaras, you're not allowed to cut the tzaras off. This is a practical law. It's not practical today. We don't have tzaras.
This is a bris of a child, and I thought you get Tzaras
Yeah, where do you
because
go
you.
Tzaras?
I know you get
Okay,
tzaras
fine, I
because of
wanna confuse-
lashon hara, and because
Yeah,
of this, and because
okay,
of
fine.
that. Kid has tzaras.
Okay, fine. Okay, but,
So if a child, an 8-day-old, listen,
Sorry.
you know what? Whatever it is, okay?
okay, fine.
So if it really is not just bisman, it's also shlo bismano that was deferred. So maybe it was deferred. Now the kid is over bar mitzvah. He's been speaking lashon hara for 13 years. Okay, so kids.
On a master break,
I don't know.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, fine.
Or maybe it's an adult convert. I think it would also be
okay, fair
okay.
enough.
Okay,
Fair
there you go. Adult convert who is speaking lashon hara. Why do we
Okay.
want to take this person? Okay, now, so we got enough people speaking lashon hara.
Sorry.
So anyway, let's go back to the kavachom. Mila shlo bizmana docha osa. Mila is going to be docha tzarat. And here it is. Mila docha tzarat bein bizmana shlo bizmana. V'yalef lo mikrai. And you learn that from certain psukim in Perik Rabbi Lezer and Kuf Lamed Bet. So we know that that's true. That bris milah will be docha tzarat. The only way to do the bris is cut off the tzarat. You cut off the tzarat. So therefore, if that works, let's try it again. If tzaras is docha avoda and avoda is docha Shabbos. So if bris milah is docha tzaras, the kal vachomer should be Shabbos nidcha mipnei avoda in adin shetei milah shlo bizmana docha osa. So shall I say that again without reading in Rashi? If tzarat knocks off avoda and avoda knocks off Shabbos, bris milah which knocks off tzaras, is surely bris milah should always knock off Shabbos, whether it's bismana, whether shlo bismana. It's not related. So I could have thought there's a kal vachomer. I could have had a logical inference to say that any kind of bris should knock off Shabbos. Except, what's the problem? Asa lavado, the pasuk lavado comes, lafuke, mehai kal vachomer. The pasuk comes to exclude a kal vachomer. We have this many times. I could have thought this way, but the pasuk says don't think this way even though it's logical. Kal vachomer only works in the absence of any kind of halachic direction from a pasuk.
Says don't use it.
Right, correct. I could make all kinds of kal vachomers. If I can eat on Shabbos, I should surely eat on Yom Kippur. I don't know. If I don't eat on Yom Kippur, maybe I shouldn't eat on Shabbos. Well, you can go back and forth. So I exclude from this kal vachomer the lo tidrishle. and I should make the kal v'chomer. So that's the kal v'chomer that gets knocked off from levado. What in blazes does this have to do with anything about kachim? Umamela, here's the stretch, guys. Umamela shamina mina, and we learned from this that because mila shlo bizmana is not docha Shabbos, and because machshirim are not docha Shabbos, the mitzvah shein zmana kavua v'yochel lasot al machar ain't a docha yom tov. So any type of mitzvah that's not set that I have to do now and I push it off tomorrow is not going to override yom tov. And v'hu adin, and here it comes. Last words of Rashi: sreifat kachim tmeim. Kachim becomes tamei. I don't have to do now. I can defer it till tomorrow after yom tov is over. So therefore, kachim that it became tamei ain't surfing komchi b'yontiv. If kachim became tamei, I don't burn them on yom tov. That's the case, and that's the third drasha that is brought down by Rava. So it has nothing to do with kachim, but you see that only things that I really got to do on yom tov I have to do. So this kachim which became tamei, I can wait till after yom tov to do. There's no reason to do it now except it's going to smell a little bit. Okay, now that's 3 reasons. Those are 3 psukim. Not the best drashas, but they appear to be valid drashas. Excuse me. Ravashi Omar. Many times Ravashi comes along at the end of Tekufas HaMoraim and says things that are just very different. He says, I'm going to give you a different kind of drash. It's almost a logical kind of drash. The others are just like Zer Sakasav. Ravashi says as follows. It says Shabboson. This is it's about Sukkos. This is for Sukkos, I believe. It's for Sukkos. It says V'yom Rishon Shabboson or V'yom Shmini Shabboson, I believe. So it's called the Shabbaton, and therefore that is an asay. So I'm supposed to make it a Shabbaton. I'm supposed to make Yom Tov a Shabbaton.
Right.
Is that a positive commandment or a negative commandment?
Say, yeah.
It's positive. It's positive. It's positive.
Make it a Shabbat.
It's a positive. It's a positive application of resting. I am positively resting. In other words, and by the way, that's important. Sleeping all day on Shabbos is not really Shabbaton. That's a negative way of resting. Shabbatons mean that when I could work, I'm actively ceasing from work. So that's written as naseh, and also, and v'hava yom tov aseh v'lo taseh. And yom tov has also got a lo saseh. What's the lo saseh? Lo saseh kom lacha.
No.
I think that's the end, the continuation of the pasuk in Vayikra Chav Gimel. So it's a Shabbaton, and lo taseh kom lacha, you can't do malacha. So I can't do malacha, it's a lo saseh. It's a Shabbaton, it's naseh. So Yom Tov aseh v'lo taseh. Yom Tov has naseh and a lo taseh. The ein aseh, and the aseh of burning kachim, boish tisrofu, when they become tameh, you have to burn the kachim. The ein aseh dochet lo saseh v'aseh. A positive commandment can't knock off a positive and a negative. So Ravashi uses the normal rules of 2 against 1, or the aseh and a lo taseh versus naseh. And aseh can't knock off a lo taseh. Sometimes naseh can knock off a lo taseh, but it can't knock off an aseh and a lo taseh. So on one side I have the aseh boish yisrofu to burn kachim that are tamei, to get rid of it, make sure no one comes into contact with it. And on the other side I have yontif, in this case it's sukkos, that I'm supposed to do a positive Shabbaton, plus not to do malacha, naseh plus lo taseh. The rules of the battles between the asehs and the lo tasehs is ein aseh docha lo taseh, aseh v'as lo taseh. Right. So ein aseh docha lo taseh v'aseh, to say it right. Okay. Okay. So at any rate, that is the drashas. Are we still standing?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I said Ravashi is the logical. Ravashi is not really a drasha. Ravashi is just simply a logical application of the logic of how psukim defeat each other, how they go to battle, who wins 2 against 1, basically. Aseh and lo taseh versus naseh. Okay. Good. Okay, now. So we have a few minutes. Let's just do a little more on this Gemara. I'd like to do maybe 5 more lines at least. So the Gemara says, okay, so we know the why I can't burn Shem and Sreifa on Yantif.
Right.
And it's because it says Shem and Truma, and if I can't burn Truma because I can't burn Kachin, that we're set with there. So the Gemara makes a diuk now. Forget the drushes for a moment. We're going back to the Mishnah. By Yom Tov Hu the Asar. On Yantif I can use Shem and Sreifa for candles. We all agree? That's what the Mishnah says.
Yeah, that's what it
and we
says.
gave 3 drushes and a logical reason. Habachol shaper dummy. But on a weekday, I could surely use it. In other words, it's mutter bahana. It's not a case where it is usher to use this because there's an isser hana. Okay, sometimes that there are reasons I can't use something at all, have any benefit from it. So the Gemara says, my time. Why? Why should I use it? Why is it permissible to burn on weekday? Amarav kshem shemitzvah l'srofa kachim shnitmu kach mitzvah l'srofa et truma shnitmu. The same way there's a mitzvah to burn kachim that became tamei, because and we're going to compare the truma which became tamei to kodesh. And also because I don't want it to become a takala. Rashi said I don't want people to make a mistake with it. So there's on the one hand we're comparing it to kachim, and kachim we had exeris akasav that I shouldn't burn on Yontif, but I could burn it other times. Or it says beish tisrofu, I am supposed to burn it, so I should burn truma as well. And the second thing, the logical reason is should I burn it because I leave it around, I'm going to have a takala. People come to use it by mistake. Kat mitzvah lisrof is a kodashim. And the Torah says, V'yomer Torah, and the Torah says, I don't know where the Torah says this yet, B'shas biura tehani mimeno, I can have benefit from it. So while I burn it, I'm allowed to benefit from the actual burning, so I can use it for light as well as have the opportunity to use it. So what do I learn from this so far? First of all, I should burn it. Second of all, I can burn it on weekdays. I can't just burn it on Yontif night. I can't use it on Yontif night for candles. I can use it any other time for light. And third of all, and I should do this, and third of all, the Torah says somewhere that when I burn it, I'm allowed to benefit from this light. Where do I know that from? The Heichal Amar Torah, where does the Torah say this? We're going to give you a drush, and we'll see what else we'll give you one of the drushes at least. So V'hechan Amra Torah, where does the Torah say this, that I can benefit from the truma? Min Rav Nachman, dem Rav Nachman Amar Rav Arvu, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, V'ani hine nasati lachem et mishmeret trumosai, and I'm giving to you, this is to Aaron, the watching of the trumos. So it doesn't say trumasai, my truma, it says trumosai, my trumos. Now, simple pshat is all the trumas you're going to get. All the trumos that you will collect are all yours, or maybe truma plus trumas meiser. So the gudrash is b'shtei trumos akas medaber. I'm going to give you the ability to you Aaron, and by extension to anyone else, the ability to have some benefit from it. Echad truma tahora, v'echad truma tmeya. You can get benefit from truma tahora, you Aaron, and also from truma tmeya. And V'yam Rachman, and the Torah says, this state trumosai means two trumos: truma that's pure, and truma that's tahar, and truma that's tamei. V'yam Rachman, and the Torah says lecha, and v'nina sati lecha, I'm giving it to you. Shelacha tehei, it's going to be yours to do it what you want. Now, what are you going to do with the truma that you can eat? Eat it. Truma that's tahar, you eat. What are you going to do with truma that's tamei? I can't eat it, but I can benefit from it. So truma tmeya, shelcha tehei lasaka tachatav shilcha. At least you can put it underneath your food to get to benefit from it, to heat the food.
That's what I said, to eat it.
Right, to eat. I thought you said to eat it. To eat it. Okay.
To heat.
Okay. So that's one drasha. There is one more drasha. The drasha is a little bit longer. Maybe we'll save it for next time. But this actually is a good point, probably actually to stop. So what do we know so far is therefore I can have benefit from burning truma tmeya because it says trumosoi, truma tar, truma that's tamei, and it says lecha. I've given it to you, which means you can use it. If Aaron can use truma tmeya, anyone can use truma tmeya. It's not just for the Kohen. He's not eating it. Aaron is the only one who can eat it. I cannot use it on Yontif because it's like kachim that became tamei. Kachim that became tamei, I'm supposed to burn boish tisrofu. Therefore, truma that became tamei, I should burn, but I can't do it on Yontif because of the three psukim we had, or because of the understanding of Ravashi, yaseh versus laseh v'lo saseh. Okay, good place to break here. Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
So we still okay with those drushes?
Oh,
We'll survive.
You
Okay.
know what? Absolutely.
Try to be good. It's hard for me.